Hi everyone, this is Gary with MACMOST.com, and in this live episode, we're going to be taking a look at Safari bookmarks. So when you're using any web browser, Safari is no exception, you probably want to bookmark some web pages that you commonly go to, that you go to all the time. Others may want to build up a whole library of bookmarks of things they might want to go back to, not tomorrow or next week, but years from now. So let's start by just looking at how you actually bookmark something. But most of this video, I'm going to talk about organizing your bookmarks, getting to your bookmarks, finding your bookmarks, that kind of thing. There are a lot of different ways to actually create a bookmark. So let's take a look here at Safari, and I'm on a web page. And let's say I want to bookmark this page. This is something I want to go back to all the time. So I can go to the Bookmarks menu here and add bookmark. And the shortcut for this is Command D. So I can just do Command D and it'll allow me to add this page to my bookmarks. And I have this menu here. This is kind of like saving a file. You're going to save it in a location and it's going to give you several locations. The top one here is just going to be bookmarks, just basically the top level of your bookmarks. You're always going to see favorites as a very special folder that we're going to talk about a lot here. And also, you're going to see any folders that you created. And I have one there that I created. And if you look here, it says add this page to, and then you have a title, and you can edit this title. So you can call it something else if you want, rename it. And you also can type a description here in addition to the title. And let's just put something like that there. And then we'll click add, and it will add to that location. So here we'll add it to the top level. So that's one way to do it. There are other ways as well, like for instance, the share menu here, you click on that or use file share and you can do add to bookmarks and really quickly just add this to the top level of your bookmarks list, or you can add bookmark to and it gives you the same little dialogue you get when you do Command D. And there's drag and drop things that you could do as well as we explore some of the other ways to handle bookmarks here. But basically, that's how you can create them. Now, viewing your bookmarks and organizing them, managing them, that's done in many different ways. Like the prime way to do it, the big way, the way that like if you want to really work on your bookmarks is to go to Bookmarks here and do Edit Bookmarks. If you do that, it replaces the current web page. It's like going to a special web page that gives you this list view of all of your bookmarks. You've got your websites that you've bookmarked and folders that you've created here on the left. And then you have the address that each bookmark goes to here on the right. If it's a folder or location, instead of an address, you'll see a number of items, 2 items, 0 items, 3 items, that kind of thing. For folders here, you can expand the folder kind of like List View and Finder. You can create a new folder like this and just have a new folder. Folders are, of course, for organizing. You can have new folders that are subfolders. Name it whatever you want. And you can see how this is under this folder here. And you can drag and drop these. And you have to pay careful attention to this little line here because like you could see by looking at the circle to the left and the line that this is going to be moved under research, right? But now you could see it being moved like to the top level there. So you want to pay careful attention when you're doing drag and drop, especially when you're dragging and dropping individual bookmarks. So I'm going to drag this one here, and you can see where the circle and line go when it's going to be placed under this folder. But I could push to the left here, and you can see the circle and line now are even with the folder. So now it'll be placed in order here, but not inside the subfolder. There's nothing in there. If you want to put it in a folder, it's easy just to drop it actually onto the folder, and you can clearly see you're adding it to it. So you can see there's one item there, and I can collapse this folder. I can move this folder with all of its items under this folder here. So you can create a whole hierarchy, tons of folders, and things like that. You can also edit things here. You can, of course, go into any of these folder names, click, select, and then click again, and you could rename. Same thing with the bookmarks themselves. Click once and then click again to rename, but also the context menu, control click, right click, or two-finger click, and you can choose rename and then you can rename it. The address here for bookmarks can also be changed. So I can click here and change this and like edit it, remove parts of it, and all that. So I can edit the URL to be anything I want. There's nothing tying the name to the URL. I can make that go to a completely different website, even though it says Mac Apple here, if I wanted to. And you can also control click, right click, or two finger click for the context menu and select edit address. So this list here, bookmarks, allows you to just really go to town in terms of managing your bookmarks, editing them. It's really easy to delete one. So if you select one like this, you can bring up the context menu and there's delete, or just with it selected, you can press the delete key on your keyboard and it gets rid of it. You can select multiple things by using the command key to select multiple items, but you can also shift click to select arrange, so you could delete a bunch of stuff if you need to. Folders can be sorted. If I go to a folder like this one here, I can control click, right click, or two finger click, and there's sort by. And I can sort by name or address, and it will sort it in here. It's going to be the same order, but like if I were to rename this one here, with that, then I could say sort by name, and it's going to sort the contents of the folder like that. No, there's no way to sort the top level of this. There's just no function for that. The best workaround, I think, is not to have too much at the top level. If you're going to have a ton of bookmarks, have a few folders here at the top level, and then have tons of subfolders and tons of bookmarks if you need them in each of those. But don't ever have too many folders at the top level. Like think about the top level, you would have like work, personal, travel, just a handful, and then have things underneath those. So if you're going to have like travel, like Europe, travel Africa, travel Asia, don't have them at the top level, have travel, and then have Europe, Africa, Asia, like as subfolders underneath the main one. That way it makes sorting easier. But a trick people use if they have a ton of stuff here at the top level is to create a temporary folder, move everything into a temporary folder, sort the temporary folder, and then move everything back out of the temporary folder. So that's just, if you really need that, you can do it. There's a special folder here that you may notice, and it's got this little star next to it here. And it's usually called, I guess, did I accidentally change it here? Let's see. It's usually called favorites. And I don't know why it's not called favorites here. But, so if you see the star there, and this is your favorites folder. So in messing around, I changed it to bookmarks bar here. Let's see. Oh, there it goes. So I'm not sure why it changed like that. Interesting little bug. But the favorites folder is a special folder. You'll see it in various places. You saw when I tried to save a bookmark, favorites was there. Favorites is like the special blessed folder. It's always going to be there. It's always going to have the star, and it has special properties and special uses that we're going to look at throughout this. Other than that, you create the folders that you need. There's this other thing you'll see called tab group favorites as well. We'll look at that towards the end. I'll briefly cover that. But basically, it's your favorites folder. It's any folders you create and any bookmarks that are at the top level here in the Bookmarks menu. So let's go to the other way to view bookmarks, which is the way that a lot of people may be familiar with it, and that's the sidebar. So I'm going to go back here, I'm viewing a regular page, and I can reveal the sidebar with this button. You can also, of course, just put your pointer on the left side, and it will reveal. But I'm going to use that button there to reveal this sidebar. Now, the sidebar, I hate the sidebar. I don't hate the sidebar for using it myself, but I hate it in that it makes it very hard for me to help people, because a lot of times people will be like in their reading list and they'll be like, I don't see my bookmarks in the sidebar. I used to have bookmarks in my sidebar. Where are they? It says reading list or something else at the top, tabs, tab groups. And of course, the idea is you're down a level. You have to go up a level by clicking that button there. So you go into, a subsection like that. You go up. And at the top level, you'll see bookmarks. And now you can go down. And now you're down one level in the sidebar in the bookmark section. You could also get to this by going to Show Bookmarks Sidebar, which will just basically take the sidebar. It'll show it and take you into the bookmark section. So now you've got an alternative way to view your bookmarks that's actually got a lot more features. First, you've got recently saved here at the top, and these sections you can jump into like this. So like I can jump into recently saved. Uh, and you see these thumbnails of recently saved bookmarks. And then you also have folders. You got all your folders, the same ones you saw under editing. So there's that test one, there's the research one I had before, and you could dive down into one of those folders and dive back up. You've got search where you can search all your bookmarks, or notice how when I went here, I can just search in that one folder there. Then you've got your bookmarks, and these would be the bookmarks at the top level. So these were the 3 bookmarks that were there at the top level in addition to the folders that were there. So you have everything you need here in addition to in the edit bookmark screen, but you've got some nicer pictures. You've got thumbnails here like that. You do have an alternative view. Instead of large, you can do compact. And you can see how the bookmarks list here now is kind of like it used to be before they introduced this larger one. And you see the larger one gives you not only the title and the URL, or at least the website for the URL, but also the description. So you can see the description here. You can also control click, right click, or 2-finger click on any one of these. You can rename it from here. You can edit the address. And this is the only place you can edit the description as well. So when you save your bookmarks, if you're using the description field and putting a lot there, then note that you can, edit the descriptions here. Let's see, I saved this Mars one. Remember, I put that description test there. So this is the only place where I could go in now and edit that description, you know, and note that descriptions can be searched. So I'm going to search on my bookmarks and notice how it got that word from the description. So I know somebody's already asked a question about tagging your bookmarks. There's no tagging functionality. There's the folders, certainly, no tags, but you do have a description. You do have a way to edit it, and you can use this as a way to add tags. Matter of fact, if you really wanted to, suppose you could put like a little um, yeah, if you put the little hash symbol there, let's see if it, yeah, the hash symbol works. It's not doing anything special. It's just treating it as another character. But you do have a way to actually do tags using the description field. So you've got that. You can rearrange here as well. So I can drag these up and down. I can drag into folders. So the sidebar is pretty fully functional. Sorting, there's a sorting function in here. You go here, you can do sort by, and this isn't a permanent change. If you edit the bookmarks and you sort a folder, it's reordering those items. So change has been made, it's done. Here, if you do a sort by, then it's changing the order here, but it's just a visual thing. You could go back to none and it remembers the previous sort order. You can change and edit bookmarks. So you've got a ton of different features here in the sidebar, which used to not be true. It used to be the sidebar was simple and edit bookmarks was the one where you had all the features. Now it appears you've got all the features really in the sidebar. And edit bookmarks is just a simpler way to arrange things, with the only exception being able to permanently sort one of these folders here. Like this, you can see I can control click this folder and there's no sort option. That's in edit bookmarks. So you've got that. So you have this sidebar. So you have a lot of good functionality in the sidebar, including the searching. There was also searching if you go to edit bookmarks. Notice here, there's search. So you've got that. We're going to get to more searching in a minute. But right now, let's take a look at a third way to view your bookmarks, which is actually the way I prefer. And this is the oldest way, going way back, and that's the Bookmarks menu. So you have in the Bookmarks menu things like add bookmark folder. But you also have all your bookmarks. The bottom section here shows you all your folders, including favorites, the folders you've created, and all the bookmarks at the top level. So every bookmark you've got is accessible through the Bookmarks menu. So you could just use the Bookmarks menu, not the sidebar, not edit bookmarks, to access your bookmarks, to get to any of them. And I love this way. It's just the way it's been done for like 30 years. So I love actually using this. I tend to not have too many bookmarks, so it's pretty easy for me to use this to find the bookmarks I want. So you've got that way of doing it. And there is a fourth way. The fourth way is interesting because I mentioned that favorites folder here. So the favorites folder, wherever you look at your bookmarks, it's always there. You can put stuff in favorites, but it's not just there for show because it has some special places that it appears. One of those is if you go to View and you choose, or is it, where is it? Bookmarks bar. Yeah. View and show the favorites bar. It's called favorites bar, but it's still Shift Command B for bookmarks. So show favorites bar, and it's this bar here at the top. And what appears in this bar, but the bookmarks under favorites. So under favorites, I've got these two bookmarks. There they are. And they will appear here as long as I have view and the bookmarks or the favorites bar turned on. And all I need to do to go to one of these is click it, and I can go to it. You can do other stuff with it as well. Let's go to Wikipedia here, and let's do search for another planet. Go to Jupiter. I can, if I want, I can do bookmarks, add bookmark, and I can add directly to favorites, and it'll stick it up there. So there it is. So it's in favorites there, but it also, favorites is reflected here. I could click and drag out to remove this from favorites, but I could also drag into it. So I can drag the URL here into the favorites bar. And you can see how I added it. You can see also you could rename things. You can control click, right click, or two finger click, rename, edit address. You could drag around to reorder these in the favorites bar here. So a lot of cool stuff that you could do to use the favorites bar as a way to do your bookmarks. And in fact, when I said I prefer to use the bookmarks menu for my bookmarks, I meant I prefer to use it over the edit bookmark screen or the sidebar. But the main way I access my bookmarks is through the favorites bar here. So all of my important bookmarks are under favorites. Matter of fact, they're all under favorites. So they all appear here. Because the coolest thing about the favorites bar is you can control click, right click, or two finger click, and you could say new folder, or you can just create a new folder under edit bookmarks in the favorites bar. And you create a new folder, and you have a folder here, that has a name, and it's empty here, but you can populate it with stuff. So let me go to bookmarks and then edit bookmarks here. And I can see under favorites, there's that folder I just created. Same, this and this are the same. I can drag this into it. I can drag, say, this into it. So I've got two things here under that. Let's drag this into it as well. So now I can go back here and notice I have a folder rather than, this is like a plain bookmark. This is a folder. If I click this, I get a little menu of items. Each item here, and I can select one and go to it. So this can contain how many? 5, 8, 10 different bookmarks before it gets too crowded. But with these folders, and you could do subfolders as well, you can have tons of stuff. You can have 8 folders here, and each of those 8 can have 15 different bookmarks. So you can have like 100 plus bookmarks in your favorites bar here, but all through folders that are categories that work for you in your workflow, and subfolders as well if you want. So this is great. I even love to go in here, rename to various things, reorder, get the bookmarks bar, the favorites bar, looking just like I want. So that's my most important tip. I encourage people, if you're not using the favorites bar, start using the favorites bar for all your bookmarks, maybe. Another place favorites appears, though, there is another place, is if you go to your start page. If you go to your start page, which is also what you get like when you do a new tab, you get this. You have settings for this under settings, general, and then new windows open with. You can say start page, new tabs open with. You can say start page. And your start page usually includes your favorites. And notice how it even includes the folders here. I can click here and dive down into the folder and go back up. So favorites is also included here. You can control click, right click, or two finger click anywhere here on the start page, and you could choose whether or not favorites is shown There's also this edit button, which is kind of underneath it, but you could see right there, edit, and you could choose whether favorites is there or not. So favorites, you can see, appears multiple places, in addition to all the places bookmarks regularly appear, like the menu here, edit, the sidebar. It also appears as this special toolbar here you can turn on, and also appears here on the start page. So favorites is very important. Um, and there's also a setting for this, start page favorites. If you wanted to, you could set the start page favorites to be a different folder. So you can't do that for the favorites bar. The favorites bar is locked to the favorites folder, but the start page favorites can be a different folder. So you could have two different things in those places, but most people, and I think, myself included, I use favorites as the start page favorites right there. So you've got that. Let's see, uh, another place your bookmarks appear, and this is not to be underestimated here. It's really useful, is when you search. So let's go here to my bookmarks, and let's look at here what I've got. I've got research. So I've got, let's see. Oh, I've got a national park here, Tongariro, and I put AAA there in front of it, right? So let's remember that. And I've got this Mars Wikipedia page. I remember I put like hashtag planet for that as well, right? So if I go here to search, like I'm going to do a search for a website, but instead I say, I'm going to search my bookmarks, AAA, it should find here. Let's see. Well, it doesn't find there. Let's try hashtag planet. I wonder if I have it turned off on my demo account here. So here it finally turned up. I searched for planet here. Notice bookmarks in history show up here. So yeah, you've got that. Let's see, search, and it should show up for bookmarks. So when you search for things, bookmarks in history, there it shows up. So planet, it shows up. 3A's not showing. Oh, okay. Well, if you do 3A's and then a space, you can see now it shows up, right? And let's try hashtag planet space. Now that's still not showing up. So it doesn't work really well here, but you can see how most of the time anyway, you can do a search here. You don't have to go to the bookmarks, edit bookmarks and you search, or bring up the sidebar and you search. Usually you could just search like you're searching for anything, and you get your bookmarks and your history as part of the results. So that's really useful. And speaking of history, I think it's important to realize that, your history is a great way to actually bookmark something without bookmarking it. So you have your history here. I use history a lot more than I use bookmarks. I think of history as everything's automatically bookmarked, right? And it's kept for a certain period of time. You've got a setting in here for how long your history is kept. And yeah, remove history items. So you can have it be like really long or never, which is manually, or just like 1 month. But if I visit a web page and I think, oh, I may want to go back to this, I don't automatically say bookmark it. I only say bookmark it if I definitely know I'm going to go back to it. And then I will, add it as a bookmark. If it's something that I think, well, I may want to go back to it, I remember it's going to be in my history. I'll be able to do a search. When I search up here for something, it will come up as history, or I can view my history. So unless I'm sure I want to keep it forever, I don't bookmark it. I just let history take care of it. So another important aspect of this whole thing. And another important piece here is also you've got the reading list. So you could go, let's go to Wikipedia again, and let's go to Neptune. And you say, oh, boy, I want to read this article. Reading the article. Oh, got interrupted. I want to get back to this article. I don't want to leave the tab open. So I'm just going to add to reading list here. And now I can look at the sidebar, and I have to go up here to reading list, and there it is. And I could, look at all, and all includes everything in my reading list or just unread. Once I read this article, It should be removed there. It's removed from unread, but it's still under all. And I use reading list as I want to go back to it maybe once, maybe twice to read it, but I don't want to save it permanently. That's what I use reading list for. Bookmarks are like, oh, it's a console page, like it's my bank, this is my bank's homepage, or the page where I can get like weather updates from like the local weather station, or things like that where I'm going back to because the information's changing. Every once in a while, maybe it's like a list of 100 productivity tips, and it's like, I want to review that every once in a while. Then I'll bookmark it. But otherwise, it goes into reading list. There's a lot of crossover in the Venn diagram for reading list and bookmarks, but it doesn't hurt to just pick one. Like if you add it to your reading list and decide you want to add it to bookmarks later, you can. If you add it to bookmarks and decide you don't want it in bookmarks later, you can delete it from bookmarks. So there's no wrong answer. I try to go with reading list first unless I know it's a page that changes all the time and I just need to go back to it for reference. Otherwise, it goes in my reading list. But you can have a completely different system. So there's a few other miscellaneous topics I want to talk about, but I do want to mention, of course, that MacMost videos like this, my live videos, my regular videos, all that brought to you thanks to all the Patreon support I get. I have more than 2,000 Patreon supporters. You can read about it right here. Just go to macmost.com/Patreon. If you find these videos valuable, if you find these videos valuable, you may want to support MacMost. But you can read about it there, and I do post extra videos every week to Patreon supporters. And there's also course discounts and other things like that, like a little community forum where we talk and stuff. So if you check that out, just read about it. I appreciate it. Um, so let's look at some other things, just some miscellaneous little tips and things like that. One is I want to talk about this thing you get here, tab group favorites. What's that about? Well, when you create a new tab group, and you can see I've got one tab group here, but I can say create a new empty tab group. Now I've got two tab groups. So I'll call this one test, and I could switch between my personal and my test tab groups here, and I can add, more stuff here like that. So I could switch between these tab groups. Well, the tab groups themselves can have their own favorites. So you can go in and for this tab group here, try to remember where you assign them. Oh, if you just go and you look in bookmarks here, tab groups favorites, you should see all your different tab groups. If I then add a new bookmark, I could go to the test tab group right there and add it. And now when I look here, tab group favorites, there's test and this. So I could switch between these tab groups and I could decide for the tab group. You can see the favorites right there, but there's also a way to switch the tab bar here to the actual favorites one. I can't remember where that is. Maybe it's under tabs. So I'm not quite sure where it is, but you can switch it over so that when you go between the tab groups, you have different favorites. But it's definitely, if you create a new tab here, you can see this is the start page for a new tab under test, and this is the favorites for that tab group. If I go here and I create a new start page tab, you can see I get the general favorites. So you have that. And the interesting thing is that if you go here and you delete this tab group, that group's gone. Oh no, you saved a bunch of stuff in favorites. It's actually still there. It'll save it. It'll remember it right there. So it keeps it behind. And I believe if you just create a new tab group with the same name, it picks up those favorites. So you've got that. That's kind of interesting. Also, not to be understated is the fact that iCloud works with bookmarks. That's really important because you add a bookmark on your Mac, you can see it in Bookmarks in Safari on your iPhone, on your iPad, you created a bookmark there, you see it on your Mac. So bookmarks work across all of your iCloud devices. That's a really important factor there. Some tips about naming stuff. You you can go in, if I go into bookmarks, edit bookmarks here, and I look at like some of these, you get the little icon for the website, but there's also nothing to prevent you from adding a little emoji character. I'm going to use Control, Command, Space, and in addition to regular, characters, you can have one or many emoji characters here. And you can see how this makes this one stand out. So you could choose different emoji characters. Even there's colored dots in emoji characters. So I can do, there's the green dot, right? If I search for blue, there's a blue heart, blue dot, blue square, blue diamond. There's lots of stuff like that. So you could choose one or more dots for names. You could even do it here in the favorites bar. Like I could go in here and I could say, put a green dot there. And you can see how when I do that, it's smart enough to push the little icon, the little fave icon for the website away. And you can do it for folders. And this is definitely something I do. All of my folders, I've got about 8 folders in my main account, my regular account, that are here in favorites. And each one of them has some sort of emoji character. You search for stuff like, oh, it's a link to a bunch of news sites. Here's a little newspaper emoji. And there's my little newspaper emoji, and that's like, this would be called, uh, you know, news. And I've got like links to my favorite news sites there. And you can see how just by adding an emoji character, naming it something, making a folder, I made it really nice beyond just the standard stuff. I've already showed you how you can use, you can do tags as part of the name. You can just include some keyword in the name, but also the description. I already showed you kind of how to do that. Um, so yeah, there's some just useful tips. There's just so many things that you could do. It's a very deep feature set here. I know uh, other browsers have even more stuff and ways you can organize, but there's a lot you can do. There's an export function as well. So you can do export browsing data to file, and you could see here you could do bookmarks. So I can take away all this stuff and just export the bookmarks. Export, and I'm going to save it here to the desktop. It's going to save it as a zip file. And there we go. There's on the desktop. I'll unzip it here, and there's a folder, and there's my bookmarks as an HTML file. I'll double click it, and this is what it looks like. It's a little HTML file. This is kind of an interesting little format for browser bookmarks exporting that's been around for like 30 years. This is how it is. So it's kind of like a standard. I don't know if it's an actual standard, but it's kind of neat because you can click on these, but also this is a good way to archive your stuff. Like say, if you want to do a strategy where you're like, oh, my bookmarks, I have like 1,000 bookmarks. Let me be brutal and get rid of tons of them. Do an export first. That way, if you want, you can refer to the exported HTML very easily here and, use it as a way to jump to stuff and then add the bookmark back again. That's another question I get a lot too, is how do you maintain your bookmarks, right? Like you have too many. I usually go to edit bookmarks here and, you just go through. And remember, stuff's on the internet. You could probably, if you found it once, you could probably find it again. And if something has to do with like an account you've got, like at a website, again, you could probably find it again through looking at your email, looking at your account information, your passwords and all of that. So rarely is it like horrible if you delete a bookmark that you later need. You can usually get back to it, almost always get back to it. But in addition to that, you can do tons of stuff to make it easier. I like the garbage bag technique, which is a technique I used to use to clean out my garage, right? You got a ton of junk in your garage. You don't know what you want to get rid of, but you start a big trash bag, you throw stuff away into it that you are pretty sure you want to get rid of. You seal the bag up, you label it the same day, 2 years in the future, throw away on this day. And if you don't open the garbage bag in those 2 years, it goes right in the trash, right? So same thing here. You can just create a folder, old bookmarks, throw in all the bookmarks that you don't think you'll need anymore, give it a date maybe, and then just know that if you go in there to find a bookmark, pull that bookmark out. You did need it after all. But otherwise, everything that's still in there after a year or 2 years, just delete the whole thing. So there you go. Some techniques for you there. Let me take a look at some of the, I've got some questions here perhaps. Uh, I didn't really talk about too much about using tabs except the bookmark tabs. Um, let's see here. Yeah, not too many other questions, but I mean, hopefully I've covered a lot here in this video. I feel I have, it's a very, deep subject. It's one of those things when people, I know people hate it when Apple removes functionality and it's like something is gone, like Launchpad is gone now. Bookmarks is like what happens when you don't, because a lot of the stuff for bookmarks, it's there. It's like, oh, I can edit bookmarks and do editing bookmarks in the sidebar. I can access bookmarks still through the menu here, and there's even keyboard shortcuts for favorites here like that. The first favorite is Option Command 1. There's a lot of functionality that goes back decades, and Apple's just left it in and just added more on top of it. Searching, being able to search many different ways through your bookmarks, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's pretty deep stuff. Nobody's going to use everything I just talked about. I certainly don't use, I probably use about 20% of what we just talked about, and I am able to utilize bookmarks to their fullest. I think there's a lot of redundancy. So don't feel bad if you think, oh, there's too much here to learn. Just figure out your favorite way to create bookmarks, or your favorite way to organize your bookmarks, and your favorite way to access your bookmarks, and just stick with those. That's perfectly fine. It's really just a convenience function to help with your productivity. So I hope you found this live video on handling and doing all sorts of stuff with Safari bookmarks useful. A lot of this works on the iPhone and iPad too, but different menus and different kinds of things. But mostly I just wanted to focus here on handling on the Mac in Safari. Hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.